ちこぼれペチャパイ合わせん坊のおバカさんあんた最低よなんだどうせ私は落ちこぼれでペチャパイで合わせん坊で最低ですよ悪口を言われるのはナレッコさんなんだからなんちゅう性格してる疑惑褒められちゃったのかしら。
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Got a full crew today. We're going to be talking to you about Sailor Moon. So this was published in Nakayoshi Magazine, big shoujo magazine. I know a few by title from this, but there's some big hitters in this magazine. So, you know, Sailor Moon, big series. Started off a lot of stuff here. Published in 1991, ended in 97, 61 chapters, and to my surprise, this was a monthly series. I wasn't expecting that from Sailor Moon. I figured it was going to be weekly. And of course, it is written and drawn by Naoki Takeuchi. A while back, if you remember on the show, Adam talked about how he rewatched the series, the original anime series for Sailor Moon. I always knew about Sailor Moon, but I never seen anything of it besides GIFs and clips and all that stuff. And I heard about Crystal, and that was pretty much it. So I decided, you know what, after hearing Adam talk about it, I figured I might as well check out the manga for it, because I also didn't know that there was a manga for it. I thought it was just an anime-only thing.
So what were your thoughts, Danny, now that you finished it?
61 chapters, and it being monthly, I was like, wow, this is taking a while to read.
Do you know if you read the original translations or the 2011 translations?
I read the original ones.
Okay, good, because that's the truest form of Sailor Moon that you can have.
Yeah, I have no idea which version I read. I'm going to assume it's probably the original, because for the first few volumes, it kept calling the Silver Crystal by the Japanese name in English. Like like that long, something no kanji, you know? And yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, this is pretty dated, but I give the series a pretty big grain of salt, because I understand that I can't really compare it to stuff I've read now, where they actually have a lot more depth, and that's really more acceptable. And you know, a lot of the beginning series is Enemy of the Month. Once we got past that and actually got more into the story, I was like, okay, now I could really engage with the series. And overall, yeah, I think it's a fine series. And to my surprise, I did some research to compare it to the anime. Found out that Naoki only wanted to do the first arc and end the series there. It was going to end with the majority of the sailors dying off, and then I believe it was the magazine and her editor at the time told her, let's not do that, let's just keep it going.
Yeah, well, Toei ordered more episodes by the end of the first season, and she didn't want to do that. So she was basically forced to like have that whole little 13 episode mini arc.
Yeah, all that filler. Which
Yeah.
you know what? At the end of the day, I don't really mind it. I think it was pretty fun to watch.
Oh no, that's one of my favorite arcs. It's like straight up a ripoff of Cardcaptor Sakura.
And I do like that it's the same race as the villain in the first movie. I can't remember his name.
Oh yeah, Fiore.
Yeah, there you go. Which is the only like really good movie villain, but we'll get to that later.
Oh my god. He's the best. But yeah, I do like how they kind of tie those together, and they kind of give him like a pseudo background. You don't really have to know too much about him to care about him, but then you kind of do know a little bit more about him at the end of the day.
So that was really news to me when you talked to me the other day, Danny. And I guess that's why the first arc really goes out the way that it does.
Mm-hmm.
If that was all we got, I would have been cool with it too. I'm like, all right, that was a good one shot. I'll take it. But then we got all this beautiful stuff. Chibiusa.
Oh yeah, she only exists because the editor of the magazine told her to add her in. She's like, oh, she should just have a daughter from the future that comes back and like does stuff. Like it was just like on a whim, and she became like one of the biggest characters, brought to life by both the English and Japanese voice actresses who did an amazing job.
Oh, 100%, definitely. Like what I remember my first memories of watching Sailor Moon was all with Chibiusa in it, you know, and then also watching the last movie that they did where it's literally all revolves around Chibiusa. So, I mean, she was already brought to life for me with the English dub, and then rewatching it now, you know, all in sub. I was like, yeah, you know what, this is it. This is the hitter for me.
Yeah, that's
she's
not
great.
surprising to hear. It was the editor's decision to do that, and it being a big hit. You'll be surprised how many big mangas, how like the good parts, it's from the editors. An example is like with Dragon Ball Z, the original design for Final Cell looked pretty bad, and then with the help of the editors, they're like, actually, you're gonna want to do this, and came out for the better. So.
Yeah, sometimes your editors do know what they're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, but most of the time they're there to keep an image of the publishing company, and that's totally understandable. But like sometimes they have good ideas.
Oh yeah, just go read a Bakuman. That's I still think that's a pretty good example of probably how the manga industry works. Well, I'm sure there's a little bias in there from Jump, but it is what it is.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. There's going to be heavy bias for me this episode towards the anime, and also towards the Deke and Cloverway dubs of the anime. I'm not a fan of the Viz dub at all.
Oh,
even though I do hear that Tuxedo Mask's voice is actually an improvement. I don't know why. I just have like a very close attachment to the voice acting team for the first season, especially considering Tracy Moore and Terry Hawks for the Deke dub for Sailor Moon.
No, I'm totally with you, and I think that just goes along with, and I don't know the timeline. Maybe the English dubs did not. I mean, they had probably known that there was going to be more seasons, but by this time the dub came around, or maybe they decided to wrap it all up, do a whole new version of voice actors. But I mean, the first one, you really hit the hammer on the nail. And the one thing I will say, just shifting over to the Japanese dub, I noticed this a few weeks ago, I think last month, and I told this to you, Danny, that the OG Sailor Moon voice actor in Japan has just been doing her voice this entire time, even for the new Crystal movie that's coming out, and for the Crystal anime, which she also does Boa. So,
hell yeah,
well, boys got to know, But I really do appreciate that they kept her doing that voice this entire time.
Yeah, Japan's really good at that, right? I mean, look at Goku. He's the voice actress has been doing Goku this entire time since the 80s.
So America did not order more episodes. Deke did not order more episodes to get dubbed after the third season of the anime. And America didn't get the fourth season for like 3 years. And there was like a long time. So, and then Cloverway took over, and they took over the last 2 like arcs or whatever. And then everyone knows nobody got the 5th season whatsoever in America.
I'm actually pretty bummed out about that. Like, one part of me
it's the best one.
But then there's a part of me that's like, you know what? I don't think they could have dubbed that and been successful. Like, especially with the Three Lights music, you could not have done that unless they kept it like Japanese. Like, because look, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna keep saying this till the day I die. The Three Lights are better than the Backstreet Boys, dude. Hands fucking down, no cap.
Yes,
dude.
not gonna. Oh my god, "Search for Your Love" is my favorite song of all time.
Dude, the next time you guys come out here, bring your laptop. I got the CD with all that shit on there. That's my Smash Battle music, dude.
Yes, dude.
I don't know if you listened to the songs yet, Danny, but
no,
yeah,
man, I haven't had a chance to check out the music yet.
They slap, bro. They slap.
Yeah, especially with like the last season and the first season with the Deke dub. Deke went all out. They did like a whole like little album full of songs for the first season, including like 3 huge bangers that I love, but we'll get into that some other time. But like, yeah, the songs, the new opening was like the first time the opening song changed for the whole manga was the 5th season. It's like such a banger, and I love it.
I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard it, I was like, man, this isn't what I wanted. But then,
this is it. Bro.
I had to replay it like before I watched the episode. I was like, okay, nah, dude, you know what? This is pretty fresh. I'm not gonna lie. This is a really good change.
Every day before 7th grade, every day before school, I used to play that song to get like pumped for the day. I was like,
hey, Karina, let me ask you this. This is gonna sound really, really. I'm not gonna say the word, but you can probably pick up what I'm about to say. Do you play like the scene in your head when you get changed sometimes?
Dude, yes. Yes, 100%.
All right, that's all I needed to know. See, Danny, you haven't. I don't know if you actually watched the screen caps of like the old '90s anime of like how they did their transformations.
Oh yeah, I
I know
remember how they transformed.
when you sit there and you watch the whole 200 episodes, it gets so stuck in your head, and when you start changing clothes, you're just kind of like, damn, dude, I'm looking kind of fresh today, dog. Like,
Make up, bro. Make up.
I just need to make sure I wasn't the only one, man.
No, you're good. You're good. That's the thing about Sailor Moon. It just gets in your brain like that for every little girl. Like you guys have no idea. There's a little bit of a disconnect because yes, you guys have the ye old Y chromosome, but for every little girl, that show was so important.
Oh, dude, I bet 100%, man.
Oh yeah, I definitely kept that in mind when I was reading it because this was one of the first of its kind back in the day, a very popular shoujo series.
Even if you were bad at school, little girls are like, I can be Sailor Moon.
She's powerful, like in more ways than just like her physical prowess,
Yeah, and I think that's where the anime did a much better job at showing that, especially when Chibiusa comes into
Yes.
play. Where, I mean,
Absolutely.
Usagi's part in the second arc was like, and I think you said this, Danny. You were like, dude, I really don't like Usagi in this. I'm like, don't worry,
Mhm.
she redeems herself by the end of it all, But
Yes.
it makes it very real. Like this is what a normal person would really go through if they ended up like, oh fuck, you're my kid from the future, like,
Mhm.
but you're also all over my man. I don't really
Yeah.
like you, dude. Like that's kind of weird, But then at the end of
Also,
the
you
day,
kind of like usurped my place in my own home as like
right?
you like made my mom think you were my fucking sister.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, she goes through her own character development, and it's like, no, you know what? I'm gonna stay this person, and I'm gonna be this person for you,
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
I think them being in the era of like middle school going into high school, that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it fits so well with just human growth, alone.
The heavy amounts of symbolism with not just everyone's outfits, everyone's names, everyone's like ideas and like personalities, just the symbolism just packed into every little detail.
Mm-hmm.
It just fleshes out each and every character so vividly
Mm-hmm.
that you feel like you know these people.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're your actual friends. And that's the thing about them is that Naoko Takeuchi, she made these people to be her actual friends when she didn't have any.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a beautiful thing. She shared her friends with the world, and everyone fell in love with her friends.
I mean, and that goes along with one of the biggest themes, man: love and friendship.
So
Can never go wrong with
love,
them.
friendship, justice, all that.
I will say my biggest gripe with the anime is Venus. That's my girl, dude.
Yeah,
And she didn't
I
get
know.
none of that.
They cut out whole episodes of her introduction in the English dub. If you didn't know that.
well, so let's
Dude.
go ahead and get into this, man. Like I said, I did some research into the series, and one of it was the differences in the anime and the manga. Main reason I read the manga was because, like I said in an earlier episode on the show, is I like to read a manga. If an anime is based off a manga, I would rather read the manga. And when I was
the source material,
when I was getting into this, much similar to Evangelion, I was trying to think, well, what's the best way to digest this series? Which is the good version? And after reading the manga and listening to only to the first 2 to 3 seasons, like the differences, I have to say I would probably recommend the manga over the anime
100%.
for a majority of the time. In the anime, I know they shift a lot of things. Like Chibiusa, for example, she shows up way later than she should in the series.
Yeah.
Even a whole character, which what is it, Diana? I think the child of the two cats. She shows up like a whole season later than when she does. But I mean, her part wasn't as important, so I can understand that.
Yeah, she's not really as important. They were going to be doing more stuff with her and like not only Chibiusa, but like her and the Amazonas quartet later. But they just didn't do that because Naoko was just fed up with Toei and their shit. That's also like a big thing about like why everything about the series is so confusing and so different is because of Toei.
Like I said earlier off mic, and then to you earlier the other day, Adam, is I don't blame the anime for doing what it did. Because like I said with the manga, it's a product of its time. You know, this series is truly a time capsule into what era it was. And anime in those days, it was not ready to go as dark as what how dark Sailor Moon is in the manga.
100%. Like when I was going through the manga, I was like, dude, you could not have done this. You could not have shown these certain scenes, you know? Like
especially the part where Usagi literally is like in bed with her man. They're naked. There's like a little side story where they're like they just like spend all day together in bed, and like
the one props I'll give the anime though is like you were saying earlier, Karina, is the depth that we got for our main characters here, all the sailor soldiers, whereas the manga doesn't really get in depth with our characters, which I found disappointing. For the most part, it wasn't until the Dead Moon Circus arc, or probably the arc before, is when we actually started getting into more of the other sailor soldiers. You know, there was there was a point where every chapter was focusing on a different soldier, and then just getting into their feelings, because you know that all these characters are just thrusted into becoming these protectors for Usagi. All of a sudden, have to fight these aliens that come to Earth, and you know they just accept it.
And it was their destiny. They literally cannot escape it, and nor did they truly try to, except for Venus. One time, she's just like, I've been doing this for too long, and I'm fucking sick of it, and I just want to be a pop star. I want to be famous. I want to be my own person. Like I've been like a guardian of like this whole planet for years now, like way before any of you. She's like the second Sailor Scout to realize her powers besides Neptune, and Neptune did it all on her own, you know, and she was just sick of it. But like no one really ever tries to quit. They're just like, yeah, we're 14, we're badass, and you know, there's nothing anyone of you can do about it.
It wasn't until they encountered the Dead Moon Circus and they started manipulating them with like their nightmares and stuff, and
their dreams and everything.
That's when like with Jupiter,
them have nightmares.
Yeah, Jupiter and Mercury, they were having waning decisions about being a sailor soldier then, and all that. And it's really just stuff that I wish we got earlier. But again, it's just a different time, right? Like my main problem with Usagi in the series for a good, I would say the first half, is she has no real character development.
Yeah, she's kind of flat and the same. Yeah.
Yeah, after every encounter, you know, she does get growth, but the next time we see
she's
her,
like,
it goes
was crazy.
away.
And she just like, da 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 da. Yeah, she's very blissfully unaware, and I think that's also a testament to how strong her character is. It took a long time for anything to change for her, because she's just so resilient in everything. She's so stubborn, you know?
Yeah.
And like, it can be a good and bad. There's like good and bad parts of anything, right? That's the other part of that coin, is that you're stubborn, so you know, no one can get past you, and you're all kinds of resilient, but then you don't really change much, and you can come off kind of really childish at times.
But I think that's where the anime does a better job with Usagi, you know, because you see a lot more of her like in-depth character development go on, especially in season 2, where she has the one like most beautiful, saddest moment of all Sailor Moon, where Mamoru's like, "Bitch, you gotta go. I ain't fucking with you no more," you know?
Yeah, exactly. He was like, well, yeah, and that's arc 2. He was like, I don't want... Okay, so he was being sent dreams in the first season by the Moon Princess from the past to say, hey, find the Millennium Silver Crystal and you'll find out who you are, because you're an orphan and you don't know who you are and you lost all your memories. And then him and his future self, his own self, he sent himself nightmares from the future so that he could test his bond with Usagi.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that happened in the manga.
No, that did not happen in the manga. This is anime only.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this is anime.
Okay.
So then he has. So then he decides. Okay, you know what? He interpreted
it the
wrong way.
He has the power to do that. he has the power to do that because he has the golden fucking mirror or whatever.
Crystal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what's crazy about that arc is that whole arc it lets you know what set forth the whole set of events that ended the Silver Millennium the first time,
Mhm.
which was Nehelenian's curse on baby Princess Serenity. And her curse set forth like Queen Beryl and her betrayal and Mataria's fucking uprising and that whole business. And that set forth the whole events of everything.
Till we got to Broly.
I don't know about how you guys feel, but I feel like the series should have ended with the Dead Moon Circus. The final 2 or 3 chapters, it really felt like the entire series was ending right then and there, and I would have been satisfied with it. And then after reading the final arc, I felt if you had to describe what a final arc is and what it has, this has everything in it. You know, it's like, oh, we have to show off everybody. Everybody's got to team back up, even though they just split up.
Everyone's got new this. Everyone new.
We have to get even bigger and crazier. Let's go to the center of the galaxy. Yeah. Let's get this final ultimate transformation, right? Sailor Moon's level 3.
There's other Sailor Scouts. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't a big fan of that. I don't like it when series decide to, well, let's get even crazier when it felt like, oh no, we're at the end. I mean, it makes sense that there's other Sailor soldiers out there, which I have to say, because I didn't know anything about the series, and then hopping in, and it's just like, wait, they live on the moon, reincarnate aliens. I was like, wow.
Right. So that begs the question. Okay, so you brought up an excellent point. So this is the chicken and egg argument of this series. Is the planet named after the sailor, or is the sailor named after the planet?
The sailor is named after the planet.
One could argue the other way around.
No, you're forgetting there's a seed that comes out first out of the cauldron and then goes somewhere in space. So it's the seed that comes first. And then it becomes the chicken, and then it becomes the egg, and then it becomes the chicken. No, but hold on, Danny. So since you don't know the difference between the anime and the manga for that last season, so in the manga it ends off perfectly fine. Like, we don't need to do any more, right? But in the anime, Usagi actually traps Nehelenia inside the mirror, and then Galaxia breaks her out and is like, hey, go get revenge. And then she breaks out. A lot of people get infected. Usagi has to go take care of business. And then in that whole battle, Galaxia is like doing her thing and coming to town.
Yeah, she's creating a distraction. So the first 6 episodes of the 5th season is a continuation of the 4th season. She sticks around and she exactly what Adam said. She just creates a distraction while she gathers information. And little do we know, but she kills everybody that was on the plane that Mamoru left in. So he died almost immediately.
Yep,
that's interesting. He dies. Yeah. He dies immediately as well in the manga. But it's right in front of Usagi, and then her memory gets. I don't know if erased or suppressed to where she doesn't remember what happened.
I think it's suppressed more so, because when I was reading it the other day, I was like, okay, that's fine, but it's an interesting twist. I kind of like the whole ambiguous thing where there's a large flash of light when he's in the plane, and then Usagi never gets anything from him.
He's blasting off away.
Yep, exactly.
I kind of I like the manga version better. I think because of Usagi's the way she acts immediately after when she meets up with Venus and everybody, and she just has this blank stare in her face, and it's clearly something's off. And every time they talk about Mamoru, she gets very monotone and dead in the face.
That would be. Yeah, that's creepier. That's a completely different energy than just being kind of sad that he's not replying to your letters.
And then being oblivious to the fact that something's not really up. I think it adds more to what is the bigger scheme in the arc.
But that is a little bit more Usagi's character. She is kind of oblivious in that respect.
Yeah, because she'll never think anything goes wrong between them.
At that point, she does mature after the 3rd arc, so I feel like
Well, yeah, there was like a whole turning point with in the third arc, at least in the anime, where it was literally her birthday, and she slaps him across the face for not knowing it was her birthday, and like
Oh,
all
that
of her
doesn't
friends were
happen in
like,
the manga.
all of
Yeah,
her
they did.
friends were like, literally like, how are you literally supposed to expect him to just know that? You're supposed to tell him that. Just because you guys are like star-crossed lovers doesn't mean he's psychic, right? And that's like the whole episode. She's like, I'm breaking up with you because you didn't know it was my birthday. And you're like, I'm going to ruin my own birthday the whole day just to be mad at you.
I heard Usagi's a little more brattier in the anime, which I was like, oh, that's a big
Oh,
turnoff
absolutely.
because
everybody's character completely changes between the anime and the manga.
yeah, that was
almost.
very disappointing to hear about the differences, especially with Rei, like with Sailor Mars, like her character's completely
Oh,
different
dude,
in
yeah.
the anime.
Yeah, she's not.
She hates men, dude.
Yeah, like,
That's
Which is crazy because in
that's
the anime
point
she
blank.
gets to date Usagi's man.
yeah,
a little
which
bit.
never happens
Mhm.
in the manga.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's why I was immediately after hearing that, just off the first season differences, I was like, yeah, I don't think I would like the anime if that's the case.
Yeah, it's very tropey, but like they cut out the beach episode because it had like some themes that they didn't agree with, and also they just wanted to cut it down to 40 episodes instead of 46. And they cut out the beach episode, and then we didn't get a beach episode until like the 4th season. And it was real tropey in the fact that it's 200 even episodes. There's plenty of filler everywhere to go
yeah.
around, you know.
Oh,
But
yeah.
like the filler is kind of important for character development.
I think that's where I told you, Danny, before you started. I was like, once you get into it, the pacing for the manga, whew, it's a little quick,
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
breakneck. Yeah,
But
it's breakneck pace, man.
but the '90s anime, it's like we're gonna saturate everything that we can and just blow it up as much as we want, you know.
Which is great because like you get quality time with Mercury. You get quality time because Mercury and Sailor Moon just like hang out for the first few episodes, and then it's Rei, and then you know they kind of just come in one by one, not like all at fucking once. Like they're just coming out of the woodwork, like, oh, we're the Sailor Scouts, we're just linking up, you know. It kind of feels a little bit more organic in that way.
Yeah, I mean, again, I have to give props to the anime if they did do more character development, but again, I just think the fact that the characters are different, like I heard Venus is not the same either, which is
dude.
also
Yeah, that's
kind of
the biggest
disappointing.
disappointment. That's the biggest disappointment because she has like a whole thing, and like they cut out her whole introductory episode, which is why when you finally do see her in the English dub, there's like this whole like 11-minute fucking pan up where they pan up over and over and over and over again. It's so dramatic, and like just to pad out time to make it like, oh, Sailor Venus is here! Like, okay, and we don't know anything about her because you cut out her entire backstory episode.
Yeah, that sucks to hear.
They didn't mention this too much in the manga, Danny. But there's that part where Sailor Venus like actually does some things in the game, like she knows when someone's playing it.
Yeah.
That's not in there at all.
Yeah, I heard about that. I heard that the base that they used for the first half of the series is not actually under the arcade. It's just the actual game itself, which is like, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I'm still going to say this. If people have never got into Sailor Moon before and they want to, read the manga, for sure. And then watch some of the episodes, and definitely watch the movies. Despite the differences, I think there's a lot of great stuff to take away from 90s anime. I'm going to put myself through Crystal, because
No.
I just got to. But I will say
Bless
that
your soul.
the movie actually looks pretty solid.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they're doing it in 2 parts, and they're coming out like the month after each other, I'm pretty with it. It looks like from the last trailer that I saw that they're actually going back to the 90s style of the transformations and not that horrible CG. Because, dude,
Yeah.
Danny, Karina, dude, that CG.
Oh yeah, when I saw it in this video I was watching, I was like,
Fucking
wow,
Betty Spaghetti, man.
I didn't realize it was that bad. But you know what? Seeing what year it was, it makes total sense how awful it is.
Exactly. Yeah, after I watched the first episode, I had to go back
Wasn't it done by like a bunch of students that kind of just like, got roped into it at the last minute?
Well, I hope they lost their internship. No, I'm kidding. I hope they didn't. But it was, it was pretty bad.
Damn, I wouldn't even go that far, man.
I would.
Yeah,
But
it was pretty bad. I was really sad because I stayed up all night for like the premiere and everything
Dude,
to like
it
watch
was-
it on Crunchyroll.
it was
I
big
sat through the
hype.
fucking Crunchyroll ads and everything. Like I was just so crushed. I just didn't even watch the second episode. I just saw a screenshot of Mercury's face melting, and I was like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah, it was big hype, man. And I was wondering why for so long that I didn't hear too much about it anymore. And then come to find out, they just dropped after season
No.
3. I was like, okay, well, why? And then I started digging more into it. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And
It was bad.
dude, like it was like 3 weeks ago I watched the first episode, and I was like, oh man. Like
Oh,
some
poor
shots, I'm not gonna lie, some shots look really, really well done. Some shots, I'm like, this is
Oh
really,
yeah,
really
well
good stuff.
that's like the keyframes, right? That's the one that the
Exactly.
boss comes in and does, and he's like, "All right, do it like that," and everyone's like, "Okay, boss," and then everyone looks like fucking Betty Spaghetti in
Yep.
any other frame.
Yep.
Everyone's face is fucking melting. Everyone's eyes are in the wrong place.
Dude, it's like the Crimson Chin everywhere, man.
Oh my god, pizza face everywhere.
Hmm.
And like they didn't even update the style. Like they updated everything else except for the art style, which I don't understand. You can move away from the pizza face style now. Like people can like there's different like you can tell a difference between a face than just the eyes and hair now. Then it's not the 90s anime. We don't need it to be that loyal
Exactly.
to the model. Like god.
And that's where I'm gonna say I'm really excited for the Eternal movies, the Dead Moon Circus
Yeah.
movies, because they look.
Yeah.
When I first saw some trailers and some posters, I was
Zirconia,
like, dude, you know what? Good job.
Like,
Keep
are
them-
they going to
keep
make
those movies.
Zirconia a girl this time? Because
Dude.
there was absolutely no reason to make him a guy in the English dub.
You know what? But Zirconia is just Piccolo.
I know. Okay, so Zirconia is a manifestation of Queen Nehelenia's greatest fears, right?
Mhm.
She's basically created to handle everything Nehelenia wants to do outside of the mirror.
Mhm.
And what I like is that she looks like Piccolo. And also what I like is that she is okay, so Nehelenia doesn't care about literally anything but herself, which makes her completely different than any other villain in the series. Because they all want something, right?
Mhm.
They all want something from the Crystal, or from Serena, or or Usagi. I'm gonna say a lot of the Deke dub names just so you know, because that's just what I'm familiar with. So she literally does not give a fuck about anything else but her face. That's it. She doesn't care. She's like, I don't care. I don't care. I just want to be beautiful and young forever. I don't care. I don't care. Like, and then at the end, she was just like, I guess I just don't want to be that lonely anymore, and I still want to be beautiful forever. Yeah, she just like steals Chibiusa for like a quick second. And it didn't work out for her.
And that's where I say the manga, way better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Way better motives. With a lot of these different villains. I also really loved that Hotaru was a fucking android. Like, I was like, okay,
Yeah,
this is pretty cool.
that's a complete difference. Yeah, I mean, she's my favorite character. for,
Hotaru
like-
is just Alita for like a cool
Thank
bit.
you. You finally understand, because I've been saying this for years, and people are like, okay, yeah, you like that fucking chick anime, and you like this fucking whatever bitch. And I love her because there's an entire arc about her. Like she's the it girl. Like she's Mistress Nine. Like she's my bitch. Like even though she's not an android in the anime, she's still pretty damn cool.
Yeah,
And
I
like
definitely
she's
agree.
very mysterious, and she's best friends with Chibiusa. She's like, if a 13-year-old can find it in herself to be best friends with a 5-year-old, I think she's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, part of that is, they're sailors, so
They already have that connection to each other.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, but like I don't know. I just think she's the best character out of all of them.
So, since you bring her up, I would like to say one of my favorite parts, probably when it comes to Sailor Moon, is definitely like I guess you could say the mythology of the series. Like once we started
Mhm.
getting deep into
Heavy symbolism.
deep
Yep.
deep into the lore about what the soldiers do and what they represent. Like when Uranus and Neptune and Pluto show up in that specific arc, and they start
Mm-hmm.
talking about Sailor Saturn. That was pretty cool stuff. I was definitely getting interested in that stuff during the Future arc, when we are sent into the future, and then you go into the time room, and then you see Sailor Pluto there, and then you get the explanation about her, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, this is pretty interesting. I could dig this.
It's sad that you don't get to see much of her, or like know much of her, except that like you don't know how old she is because she's literally the daughter of Kronos.
Yep.
Yeah, she has a longer lifespan than the other sailors do, which I thought was interesting.
Mm-hmm. And her and Sailor Saturn's relationship is in tandem always, like forever. They'll always like be in touch with each other because Sailor Saturn is literally a walking time bomb.
Mm-hmm.
I guess anyone who knows anything about time bombs, it's Sailor Pluto, right?
Exactly. Another thing I want to point out about that lore, Danny, and when you found this out, I was like, oh yeah, dude, is that Mars's crows are actually her moons, Phobos and Deimos.
Yeah, because I remember I read the names for them. I was like, yeah, they like, why does those sound familiar? Like, I know those are names. I'm like, why do they sound familiar? And then once it was during the Dead Moon Circus arc, when everybody started getting like their quote unquote final upgrades, right? Getting like new weapons and all that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wait a minute. And then that's when it clicked.
Yeah.
Looked it up. Sure enough, yeah, they were the moons from Mars. That's cool. I like that a lot because it starts to make a lot of sense about like what their roles are.
Yeah, even like the main story, it's about the Greek mythology of Princess Selene and Endymion.
Excuse me. Yeah. And then once Uranus and Neptune were basically kind of explaining their roles, and then when Pluto shows up eventually as well, I was like, oh, you know what? It makes sense because those are the gas giants. What do the gas giants actually do with our solar system is they take the big hits from asteroids and all that.
Yep.
So they're supposed to deal with the big threats by themselves, and then everybody else, all the other sailors, are supposed to like come in and help Sailor Moon, right, protect her. And I was like, okay, that was pretty cool stuff.
Which is why Uranus is all up in Seiya's grill all the time, because she's like, you're not from around here, boy.
Dude, big science.
yeah.
All over the place, big science, especially in the last arc. But I will say one thing that I hated in the 90s anime, but I started to enjoy, and I wish that there was just a little bit more of that in the manga, was the Seiya Usagi parts.
Yes. Okay. Because
I'm opening up this can of worms, dude. So let's.
This arc birthed my second lead syndrome because I fell in love with him, right? Because he.
I mean, actually, the correct pronoun would be them.
Her.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. He's only a he in the anime because in the manga they're pretty consistently women. They just only dress up as men when they are pretending to be human.
Yeah.
The first arc was about their past, right? The second arc was about their future. And the third arc was about their dreams, obviously. Fourth arc is about like what could go wrong. Like what?
I think you got those last two backwards, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I do kind of. Well, it's like the dream arc is about like how important Mamoru is in the whole scheme of things, because he kind of just seems like a background character, but they actually kind of make him important somewhat. So I like the Sailor Stars series simply because I feel Mamoru is her past life true love, right? They're star-crossed lovers, but only in their past reincarnations. I feel like Seiya is like Serena's true love, like the human version of her. Like that's her human true love.
I could definitely see that, except for the line that I don't know if it was Yaten or even his princess that says, she shines way brighter than you. You can't ever be with her.
I think that what I'm referring to is like his ego or her ego, because she just is the leader, and leaders just tend to not really clash well with other leaders. Like there can't be two CEOs,
Well, plus Usagi's the most powerful princess in the entire galaxy.
It's pretty well known her light outshines all else. even though she's only reflecting the sun's light. But
We never talk about the sun. It's its own star.
it's its own
It's
star.
the only one that doesn't have a
Yeah.
Sailor Scout.
Yeah, light definitely comes from the moon. Yeah.
Mhm.
Big
But-
science.
Yeah.
Big science, dude.
So I have to say one of my least favorite parts of this series lies with Usagi, and it's not her fault. It's more of just the series. But during the Dead Moon Circus arc, this was like everybody's chance to, really grow as a sailor soldier, right? Everybody was going through personal dilemmas with the nightmares. And then, their sailor guardians talk to them and convince them that, no, you really are important. It's not just all about Usagi. Like, you're also there in the background.
All she cares about is she's like, Momo-chan won't talk to me.
Mhm.
Well, anyways, and so that's when they start getting the things like Sailor Mars gets the bow. I think Mercury gets the harp, right?
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah. Yep. The
And
talisman, yep.
I thought this would have
For the Holy
been a great time for the characters to shine, but
Mhm.
what disappoints me with those is at the end is when Usagi comes in as Sailor Moon and defeats the enemy for them, rather than them defeating the enemy themselves, proving that they can protect Sailor Moon. I thought that was
Yeah.
such a disappointment to see, because it's the same thing every time Sailor Moon shows up, does her one attack that she knows. Sometimes Chibi Moon is there to help.
He's like, oh, one silver millennium crystal won't work? Use two.
Yep.
Yeah, so they save the day, and then Tuxedo Max kind of comes at the end. He's like, "Damn, I couldn't protect her again."
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of my biggest complaint about this entire series is that like they'll get painted into a pretty tight corner. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're gonna die, and then she's just like, nope.
Yeah.
Trump card. I'm the Moon Princess.
I will say though, Danny, going with that specific part, the anime does a phenomenal job of letting everybody have their own light.
Yeah.
Like you see them team up with a different sailor soldier. So I think it's like Mars and Neptune, and then Uranus and like Jupiter, and they're all kind of
Yeah.
together. So you get to see that happen. It's like, well, we could still do it, but then they all get trapped and behind the mirrors, and then the same bullshit
Yeah.
happens. But that little moment, it was nice. But I will agree with you that I wish that with all their cool powers that they do have and their upgrades, would like to see a
They
little
would
bit
just
more.
like use a little bit more cunning and intellect.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's disappointing because the only other times we see them use it is in the final arc, and it's when they use it is when they die.
Yeah, when they're already all dead.
Yeah, it makes the characters feel less important in the whole series because again,
in the first and last, they're already all dead, and then they come back in the spirit form and help out in some form or another. Like they do that twice in the beginning and end.
which is another reason why I don't like the last arc, is that like everybody dies so quickly left and right, because again, it's one of those I guess Broly is a really good example, Adam, to say about the final arc, because it's just like, oh man,
It's just Broly, dude.
nobody could hold a candle to this new big bad. But I will say I do like,
and all she had to do was hold her hand.
Yeah, I gotta say I do like Galaxia, right? I like her design.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, dude,
Yeah,
you know what?
she's the absolute most ruthless antagonist.
I'm gonna say this right now.
She's the Thanos. She is the Thanos of the whole series.
Now hold on, I'm gonna say this right now. This is for everybody to know. Galaxia, she can step on me, dude. Monday through Friday.
Oh my god. She's kind of got that big Satsuki energy.
Oh, you know what I kept thinking during the final arc here was when it's like, oh, here's another princess. Oh, these are an alternate version of Sailor Scouts that we don't know, kind of thing. And the first thing I thought, I'm like, oh, this is the arc to tell the fans, hey guys, here's your okay to make all your Sailor Moon OCs. All your Sailor soldiers.
Yeah.
Pick a galaxy. Pick a planet, boom, that's your OC. And I was like,
especially
okay.
there at the end with Sailor Cosmos and how mysterious she is and how shrouded in mystery that even Naoko Takeuchi won't even speak on her whatsoever.
Sailor Cosmos is just like the Avatar state, pretty much.
Yep. Exactly. That's the best way to put it.
So.
Yeah, and then when you bring in Sailor Cosmos again, it's just like it kind of feels a little rushed with the character because shows up at the very last second. and decides like, okay, Sailor Moon is going to be Sailor Cosmos now, and then oh no, I'll come back eventually, and then I will take the position of Sailor Cosmos again. And I was like, what? I mean, it was kind of weird because the rest of the arc, like all the new stuff we got in the arc, we actually got fleshed out bits for it to explain the lore of like, oh, people fled the planets, or they fled their home planets to come to different solar systems, and then, you know, they take on those roles of the planets.
They think that Sailor Cosmos is kind of like Mataria, where she's like kind of just incorporeal until she like takes a host, and that host being Usagi at the moment. She just looked like her in the moment, I guess. I don't know.
I
don't know,
because
the fact that she says like, oh, once I come back, I will become Sailor Cosmos again. It's like, what? I don't know. It was weird. It's just the problem that a series has is when it's like, well, we have to get bigger. We have to go larger in scale into what's going on. And this era was definitely the very early stages of that, right? 91, definitely.
100%.
Yeah.
But I will continue to say this. Season 5 is just wild. Like, all bananas everywhere, man. Like, especially with like the 3 lights, I was like, okay. And then just bringing in everything else, I'm like, dude, just throw it all in my face. Let's go.
Dude, yeah, and then she, like, so many things happen at once just from the jump. Like, she goes into high school, you know, Nehelenia is still fucking around. Like, literally the world is coming to an end. There's another princess. There's more Sailor Scouts. Like, so many things. Bam, 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 bam. Like, it's just, like, so much information to take in. There's so much mystery and, like, intrigue with that season. That's why, like, people were so dumbfounded, or, like, I guess they were just, like, conspiring amongst each other as to why it didn't get dubbed. And another, like, theory, I guess, people were working on is that, like, at the time, because of the success of Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z and whatever, Toei was like just charging so much for like dubbing fees or whatever, and no one wanted to like pay that, so they just didn't work with them.
Well, plus I think the last season for a Western audience, it probably wouldn't do as well as all the previous
absolutely
seasons
not.
Did.
I don't.
It makes sense. It didn't show up.
I think for the time, it was too much for a Western audience. I think now, if people were to go watch the final arc, it would probably be received really, really well.
Also, they just could not go about pretending that Uranus and Neptune were still cousins in that season.
Dude, yep, exactly.
Like, there's so many strings that come undone, that they, like, so many pieces of the House of Cards that they fucking built came down in that season, that they were just like, fuck it, we can't censor this enough, so we'll just censor it altogether.
That's interesting because I don't know how it is in the Japanese dub. Their aliases in the human world is that like they're married during season 4.
They pretty much are like, yeah, they're together, but we're not saying they're married.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
they kind of disappear. Dub. They ride off into the sunset in the 3rd season, and they don't show up again until the 5th. So,
really?
Yeah, it's assumed that they get married, but like they just don't show up again until the 5th season. So, if you were hoping to see them in English, good luck, because it's not going to happen.
Yeah, because they definitely show up at the end of the 4th arc, and when we see them, it's...
Oh yeah, they're important. Yeah. Because they're important. They have the talisman, and you have to do that for the chalice. Yeah.
Well, no, not just that. It's the reason they left is to raise baby Hotaru. Until that mission is complete, and that's when Hotaru comes back in the 4th season to join the rest of the sailors.
Yep. Yeah. I definitely, again, I'm gonna say this: the manga is the preferred way to go. If you want to get all the nuts and bolts, definitely. If you want to see the fleshing of the characters, I mean, with the changes, 90s anime. I will come back in a couple weeks, let you know how I feel about Crystal. I'll probably be crying a lot, but it's
bless your soul.
I got it. Someone's got to do it, man.
Someone has to.
I have to know, dude. I have to know how bad it really is. Like, I'm about to kill the cat with this curiosity.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just supposed to. So they went and followed the manga pretty pretty well. They did it
well. I don't think so. The only reason I say that is because at the end of the second arc, right, the future arc when Chibiusa leaves, right, and then
Mhm.
eventually in the anime she returns. In the manga, she immediately comes back, and she's a recurring
Yeah.
character. And then to have her
Yeah.
show up like half a season later, and then shifting around stuff, changing how characters act and their motivations, I
Yeah.
think it's for the most
and
part
also
it's
like the
okay.
breakneck manga speed that you shouldn't have on screen.
Yep.
Like
Well,
that's
it wasn't even that fast paced in the manga, mainly because it being a monthly
kinda
manga.
was.
Well, it's a monthly manga, so you have to get that content in, but it didn't feel that
No, I mean,
fast when I
like
was reading
the
it.
anime, how it was following the pacing of the manga. Like you can like at least give somebody some sort of like background or something. Like these characters just feel so flat. The voice acting is flat. Like everything is
Mm.
just so like gray and like non-existent.
Well, I think that definitely has to do with it being monthly, because majority of every chapter, it's always going to be focusing on Usagi. It's going to be focusing on Mamoru. We're going to have more of Chibiusa compared to the rest of the sailors. Like, there's even chapters where they don't even have dialogue, probably. The fact that it's monthly and the fact that it's from the 90s, I understand the popularity for it. I could see why the anime got so huge. But again, I just have to think of objectively. I'm like, yeah, I think it's a good series at the end of the day. But if it came out now, it would totally play out differently.
100%, dude. I think for the time,
Yeah.
it fulfilled its purpose.
Yeah, the companies that were handling it knew how to market it, as well as like the toys and everything around it, as far as like just milking the shit out of that cow. They knew how to do that, but that was the problem with the creator, that was her problem with the company that was handling her series, is that they weren't. I guess you could call her a bit touchy in that aspect, because she didn't like almost any change. She was like not flexible at all with changes in anything, and she just became so distraught over like all the changes that she just stepped away altogether. She was like, I'm not going to be a part of this. And it's kind of sad to see that happen.
Yeah, there's a quote that she said. They asked her once, "How do you feel about the adaptation for your series?" And the quote, to paraphrase, the quote was, "It's all right, but because it has like a hint of the male perspective in the series, and that's what I don't like about it." And it's it's the 90s, so you obviously already know what the type of staff is working on the series, and what the main focus is. That's why I know, like with Mamoru, he does a lot more in the anime than he does in the manga, for the sake of what
just
he has to
having
do.
him on screen. Yeah.
less of a damsel that he is in the series.
Yeah. Well, in Crystal, he straight up punches a dude. He does more than he ever did in the old anime. In like literally the first season, all he does is fucking throw roses and like serve as a distraction. And he's like, you can do it. And she's like, yeah, I can do it. Yeah, throw a tiara. And that's pretty much the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean he doesn't really do much in the series. I mean he has like important scenes, but majority of the time he's just trying to there to cheer up Usagi and motivate her to pull through at the end.
But hey, you already know he has one of the greatest memes out there, man. I'm here to save the day, thank you. But you didn't do anything, and then he just leaves. It's like, that's accurate. 100%.
But you didn't even do anything. Yeah.
I will say though, for again people who have just watched the anime, read the manga, but be prepared to see how dark it gets.
Yeah.
And how successful it does at getting dark when it wants to.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big shining points for the manga, is how, I guess you could say, bold it was to go the dark route for this series. For it, one being a shoujo series in a monthly magazine.
Oh, right, yeah. And then Madoka Magica fucking took that concept and ran with it.
Oh, yeah. No, and I think that's where this is a great pillar for all the magical girl shows that do very, very well on their own and like survive in this day and age as well. It was like, hey, we can take some of these concepts and really run with it, and we'll do it in a way that works. And I feel that's a really good way to look at Sailor Moon too, just for the time that it was in. It tried its best to do what it wanted to do. A lot of it worked really well. Some of it kind of fell apart. But at the end of the day, it's a pillar for magical girl, animes and mangas.
I mean, the magical girl animes are still being made today, so I mean, rather successfully, might I add.
Oh, 100%.
And like, so look at Kill la Kill. It's like the mixture of between both the shonen and shoujo. It's like you get tits, you get girly shit, outfits, transformations, but you get blood and like all kinds of like powering up shoujo nonsense. You know.
So I don't know how it was in the anime, but with Chibiusa, I thought she was a okay character. You know, she's just kind of a different take on Usagi, more or less. And what I liked that was interesting was with Black Moon, right, when she gets possessed and her body finally grows up, so now she has an adult body. I don't know how they handled it in the anime, but in the manga, it was not that long. She had that transformation before she turned back into her child form.
It was about the same, Danny. And also,
Damn, was it?
I want to say that the anime did a worse job on it, because the reason
Really?
why her whole premise into staying evil is that nobody pays attention to her, and that she fell down and they didn't pick her up.
Oh, okay. It's a little bit more complicated. It was her birthday, first of all.
Right.
And it was like she was being manipulated in her brain. She was being brainwashed into like believing all sorts of the evil parts of the people that she knows and not remembering any of the good parts. She blocked out all the good parts of that day and just only highlighted the bad parts. And that is enough to change a child's heart against the people that they love.
That's interesting, because in the manga, if I'm not mistaken, it was just the reason she runs away from Usagi and Mamoru because she realizes that, oh yeah, Mamoru only has eyes for Usagi, right? Which that's a whole conversation, man. I was like,
I mean, little girls do fall in love with their dads.
You know, Danny.
But see, the difference is like, oh, but this is not really my dad though, because I'm in the past. You know,
Danny, I'll never forget what you said in our chat. when you got to that point, you're like, "Yo, that's your dad, though." I was like, "Dude, you're not wrong. You're not
actually
wrong."
my dad."
and you know that the crazy part is those feelings that she has still continue over to the next arc.
Yeah, they do.
Which I thought was weird, because when her and Usagi, when their bodies change, so now Chibiusa's an adult now, and Mamoru compliments her, and then she has these feelings. She's like, "Oh, but wait, I can't because he's my dad." And I was like, "We're still feeling this? Like, didn't the whole like I'm out of the evil."
You didn't learn nothing. Yeah.
And that's just
like
the problem. With
she's also like
manga.
fucking thoughting out for Pegasus in her dreams, right?
Because she wants her prince. Yeah.
Yeah, but she still wants to have her cake and eat it too, just like her mom.
Yeah.
Well, once he showed up, she was like, "Mamoru who? I don't know who that is."
Yeah, Mamoru who? And in the anime, I don't know if Helios actually does get to kiss Chibiusa,
Okay,
but
yeah,
he does.
So the way he does it in the manga,
It's
Karina,
so sneaky.
no, no. Okay, so in the anime, way better job. In the manga,
Yes.
he like walks up to her as Pegasus, right? He walks up to her as Pegasus and then kisses her, and then it's like his normal lips. But okay. While we're on topic of Helios, I need to talk about this, okay? Because when I finished this, I was like, hold on, man. So we have this whole premise that Helios is Pegasus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in the end of the manga arc, he was like, "Oh, let's go for a ride on my favorite horse." And then Pegasus shows up, and then he gets on top of him, and I'm like, hold on, dude. That's not.
Well, because what happened was
he's from a planet. He's from that planet where there's just a bunch of Pegasi, I guess.
Well, I think what happens is it was his, in a sense, like his spirit, like because he said I had to turn into this form. It was the only way I could survive being caged over here, and I figured like, oh, once he broke out, then like, oh yeah, once he's all healed up, yeah, I'm still a regular old guy. You know, I got a horse too, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
it's that anime bullshit too. You know,
dude, and that's really what it was. What I saw, because in the anime, it's like, nah, he can go back and forth interchangeably, you know. And then in the manga, when they're like, "Oh, this is my favorite horse," I was like, "My guy, hold on, I like Animorphs too, but calm down." Like,
Yo.
are we writing another dude right now, or is it just like a legit animal? Like,
Right.
Yeah,
Oh
it
my
was
gosh,
just
no.
it was a different thing. Yeah.
Yeah. See, what I was thinking was that because he has his own little kingdom and like subjects and things, people to look after, basically.
mhm.
I like that part in the series.
Yeah, he has his own set of responsibilities. So do like Artemis and Luna, like they have their own planet and their own set of responsibilities, but like they pretty much sacrificed all of that to be like to be the guardians of the Moon Kingdom.
Right. Yeah.
I'm gonna say this right now. I'm not a furry by any means,
But Luna could get it, though.
dude. But Luna, dude,
Luna can get it, though.
Danny,
Like-
so the second movie, Danny, you get to see Luna animated like as a human, and my guy.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, because so there's, that little side story where she, like, kind of falls in love with this guy,
No.
and, like, he makes her smell like potpourri or whatever.
No.
He, like, takes care of her and puts a bow on her.
That's an anime only thing, Karina.
Yeah, it's filler.
Really? I
Yeah.
thought that was there. No, there's a side story. Promise. I've seen the panels, like where there's like a little side story.
The only stuff we get with them is when they're involved with either Venus or Usagi, or there's a dilemma going on that the sailor soldiers have to go to. Other than that, it was in the last arc when they got attacked and they couldn't talk anymore. And so they just stayed at home with Usagi's parents, and that's pretty much it. We don't really see them do anything outside of the sailor soldiers.
Yeah, there was a huge lack of the cat action in the manga, for sure. Like their little fun quirks.
Yeah, I mean, and it makes sense too, because it's like, I mean, we're just here to give you the lore, but once that role's done, now we just kind of have to they're just like Oolong and Puar in Dragon Ball.
Exactly.
You know, it's like we're just here because we were established in the beginning. Oh man,
Yeah.
another thing that really caught me off guard was when they did go to the future arc, right? When they went to the 30th century, and I was like, what year?
Oh, dude, yeah.
And I was like, oh, that is so anime. Like, I'm
Dude,
for
I
Crystal
know.
Tokyo. But then
Things only happen in Tokyo, though.
but when Mamoru from the future explains, like, oh yeah, we could live a good chunk of centuries. I was like, what? Really? I was like, all right.
That's the power of the crystal, bro.
The power of the earth, dog. It's the earth and the
The power of
crystal.
the golden crystal.
Look,
Earthbender,
man,
yeah.
people say crystals are bad for you. I don't think so. Just don't
It's that
smoke it.
crystal.
Yeah, I was about to say, depends how you use them, buddy.
You can't smoke
Exactly.
it. You can't freebase it. You can't.
You just gotta sit on it, put it next to your heart, sleep with it.
You have to charge
Next
it
to
with the
your-
power of friendship.
It did
Oh
exactly.
my God.
Yeah.
Feel it in your Kokoro, man.
Toki Doki, my guys. Overall, Sailor Moon, it's a good series overall. It's just the problems I have with it definitely stem from what year it came out. And again, I will say, if you've only watched the anime, I think you should read the manga. And if you're getting into the series for the first time, I would say start with the manga. I think it's always the safe bet is to start with the manga and then go from there.
And you guys know I'm gonna have like the opposite opinion of that, only because that is my own bias. But look, I do see your end of the argument, and I agree with you. Like, if you want actual details to be correct and you want like actual lore, go for the manga. You can cut the fat, go right to it. That's the story. And you can get more background on Sailor V if you read the Codename Sailor V issues.
Mhm. I think just to piggyback off of what you said, Danny, and also what you said, Karina, if you really enjoyed the '90s anime, I think you owe it to yourself to read the manga. Just to see what the source material really was, and it's honestly my preference. But the '90s anime did a lot of really good actions, a lot of really great options, but the manga, it's good stuff.
Oh, let's not forget the whole Naru and Nephrite love story in the anime.
Oh,
I don't think that was a thing in the manga.
No, absolutely not.
It is literally the most heartbreaking moment. Like, out of everything, even after everything's said, I can pick that moment out of all of them and be like, that's where I ugly cried, dude. Like, I ugly cried when Nephrite died in front of Naru.
Yeah, that was not there in the manga, but that was a beautiful scene.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, yeah, he is kind of an alien and also an adult. He's making a 14-year-old fall in love with him and everything.
Yeah, buddy.
But,
Dude, remember, they're all aliens. This is all X-Files, dude. That's all Sailor Moon is, just X-Files all over again.
it's X-Files and
Mamoru
Cardcaptor
is just
Sakura.
Mulder.
He gets brainwashed and taken over every season. He's always the damsel. He literally always gets brainwashed and turned against a Usagi at some point.
Oh yeah, because he is the damsel in distress in here.
But the brainwashing part is interesting because you can't convince someone that loves someone so irrevocably to just do something against them. Like, you have to brainwash them.
Yeah,
like you have to
it's the
literally
easy route.
just change their entire character altogether.
Yeah. Well, again, it's because they are reincarnated, so that adds it into there. It's like, I mean, because they know, also going into the future, they know it's like, oh, I mean, yeah, we're gonna be together. It's pretty obvious, and which is it's always very consistent in the manga. And I know you said earlier in the anime, like Usagi ended up breaking up with him, which never happens because she's so in love with Mamoru.
They break up. There's almost like never a solid time that they're together in the anime. They're like, this shit is so fucking dragged out. They're either brainwashed or they lost their memories, or like the dreams told him not to be with her anymore. Like, some shit gets in the way.
The demons told me to.
Exactly. Like, there's never a solid time where they're just being together,
Yeah, it's only during the downtimes in the arc while they're still trying to figure out what's really going on, who's the new enemy. Like a lot of the times is Usagi wants to stay over with Mamoru. I remember one was like when he got sick with the curse, and then when Chibiusa was gonna leave the next day back to the 30th century, and that's all the real downtime they got. Even the beginning of the Dead Moon Circus when they were all hanging out as a family and all that. Yeah. And one final thing for me to talk about for the series is again, because it's a monthly series, because it's from the 90s, we didn't get a lot of downtime in the manga with our characters. Because right before the Demon Moon Circus arc in the manga, we just ended the previous arc with all the crazy stuff. And I mean, time had passed. I think it was like a few months in between chapters, but I wish we got that in the manga, actually seeing our characters just kind of, just hang out, kind of just be normal.
I mean, you kind of just see that in like the movies the most. Like, you just kind of see them be teenagers in the movies like the most. That's and that's only for like less than 15 minutes.
Yeah, we don't get a whole lot of it in the manga. At least definitely in the second half we don't get a lot of it, which
there's like this little short story called Amy's First Love, and like,
that one's so
that's
good.
That's the most character development you're ever going to get out of Mercury, because she's just so silent. And like, even when in the manga where it's just her and Sailor Moon for a few episodes, like, she's just so easily overshadowed, but somehow she's like the favorite character in Japan.
Mercury?
Yeah. Cause
I can see that.
Like a really good role model for little girls, because she's like really studious and like she's so polite and everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, aside from Rei and from the latter soldiers that show up, like Saturn, Uranus, like all the gas giants. Mercury gets the most screen time out of everybody else. I guess Venus comes in as well, but not everybody else doesn't really. They kind of just mainly on the sidelines for the most part.
Yeah. Well, even like the other sailor, like the enemy sailors, like Lead Crow, Aluminum Siren, Tin Yonko, and Lead Mouse.
Yeah, that name. When I read that, I was like, "What?"
Sailor Lead Mouse. I was like, you know what? That's gonna be my next band T-shirt name.
I was like,
I'm
"What?"
Just gonna make a band T-shirt.
I was like, "Is this a kids show now?" Like,
dude, those sailor. Okay, Tin Yonko is my favorite. Like random enemy. Because she's like the only enemy that they kind of like halfway turn over to the good side, and then she just goes right back to being bad.
So I think with that, guys, I think it's safe to say we could go ahead and wrap up this episode. Sailor Moon, Super Sailor Moon, Super Ultra Mega EX, whatever
Ultra Instinct, yeah.
Yeah, whatever they
Super
picked at
Ultra
the end.
Instinct Moon.
Yeah. So thanks, guys, for listening. As always, you can follow us over on social media at Unverse Podcast. Let you know when the latest episodes drop. And you can send an email at unversepodcast@gmail.com. Any questions or comments, we'd love to talk about it. If you guys read the Sailor Moon manga, which version do you prefer? We'd love to hear. And of course, we'll bring it up. So, thanks for listening, guys. Catch you on the next one.
Look what you did to me. Eyes of an enemy. Moving like centipedes. Testing my pedigree. Testing the testimony of my energy. If she left, she find a better me. Box wine and some Hennessy. Shit can't be good for me mentally. Cross paths with some waste time. Sweet pussy from the grapevine. Champagne and some fade lines. What are your vices? Depressive devices. I'm killing like ISIS. I'm dimming my brightness. I know you're excited. We fold and collided. Our planets will crumble. My space is divided. You don't even listen. You know that I'm hiding. You don't even trust me. Can see that I'm dying. The days are falling apart. The hours are stuck at the start. The minutes are one with the art. Losing my grasp of time. My progress is dim in the dark. My promise of life in my pocket. I thrust in this naked for start. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I busted some cracks in the hall. I'm eating till feeling this fall. I'm breathing till death's at the door.